Good evening and welcome to the March 3rd, 2020 Gilderland Central School District Board of Ed meeting. Would you all please silence your cell phones and stand for the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first on the agenda, we don't have a school representative, so next is public comment. Linda, did anybody sign up? No? Okay. All right. Moving on to the next item, the consent items. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 11th, 2020 meeting, the CPSE and CSE recommendations, personnel action, and the financials? Kelly? Second, Rebecca? Any questions?
Yes, Gloria.
I'm looking at the ceiling.
You are?
She's looking at the
Oh,
what?
that's because my camera flipped. How's the ceiling look? Oh, geez, now I'm dumping water on computers. It's not good. Oh, Gloria. And it's on live TV, too. It's great. Yeah, that would be helpful. Excuse me.
I'm sure Andy will edit this out.
Commercial or something.
Oh, my goodness. That better?
You need to wipe
That's one
underneath the
better.
computer. All right, so any questions about those items? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 7-0. Next on the agenda, information items, curriculum and instruction. Dr. Singleton?
God, I'm all frazzled here.
Sorry. Take a minute. Just take a
I can
minute.
do it. All right, here we go. So I have two items for your information tonight. The first is recognizing our high school model UN club, United Nations Club. The Gilderland High School UN Club made its first international trip recently from February 6th through February 9th. They traveled to the University of Toronto to participate in a Model UN program. We had 19 students from grades 9 through 12 make the trip, and we want to congratulate ninth grader Mirzad Glavik for earning a third place honorable mention representing Mexico on the Commission on Narcotics and Drugs. Cole Cornfield of grade 12 earned a coveted first place or Best Delegate Award as Maximilian I, Joseph, King of Bavaria, on his committee, the Conference of Dresden, and that was 1812. This was the club's second trip of the year. In November, they traveled to Brown University. At that program, 10th grader Megani Bupati was awarded the second award of Outstanding Delegate for how she represented the Federate States of Micronesia at the Pacific Island Leaders Meeting. The club's advisors are high school social studies teacher Derek Kopf and Gilderland Elementary School physical education teacher Jessica Santa Barbara. So congratulations to our Model UN team. And my second item is just a recognition of a recently received grant. And I'm thrilled to share that Gilderland High School was selected for a $3,000 Whole Kids Foundation Garden Grant. GHS was among 550 recipients selected from over 900 applications, and we want to extend congratulations to Joan McGrath and Heidi Cutler for pursuing this grant and, of course, winning the grant. So congratulations to them.
Thank you, Damien. Next, school business information. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, thank you. First item this evening is water testing for lead, and just kind of as a review, on September 6, 2016, the governor signed legislation requiring all school districts in New York State to test water systems for lead contamination and to take responsive actions. To implement this new law, the Department of Health issued emergency regulations titled Lead Testing in School Drinking Water. The district complied with the new legislation by testing and remediating, where required, all water outlets used for drinking and cooking purposes, except for a small number of laboratory and bathroom sinks that were permitted to be clearly labeled for hand wash use only. In addition, The law required all school districts and BOCES to complete a second round of testing of all water outlets used for drinking and cooking purposes between January 1st and December 31st, 2020, this school year. After this time period, schools will be required to retest every 5 years unless an earlier time is designated by the Commissioner of Health. So far, we've completed all the testing in our school buildings. We've tested 805 water outlets throughout the district, and there have been only 12 that have been designated above the action level, which is 15 parts per billion. So all of those 12 water outlets have either been taken out of service, removed, or designated for hand wash use only. And for water outlets designated to be placed back in service, the outlets will be remediated and retested to ensure they are below the action level before being placed back into service. All of the results for each of the schools are posted on the district's website.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Oh, another item.
I have another
Sorry.
item. Next item is high school radon testing. Periodic retesting for radon at the high school had identified 3 areas that exceeded the recommended action guideline for radiation. Those areas were the auditorium, the East Gym, and the wrestling area. The district worked with its architectural firm and an industrial hygienist to design radon mitigation systems for these areas. Those systems were installed during the summer and fall. Recent short-term screening results found radon levels to be below the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's recommended action guideline, meaning that the remediation systems are working as intended to lower the level of radon in these areas to the desired level. Long-term test canisters are in place, and after 90 days, those canisters will be sent to a laboratory for analysis as well. And once we have those results, I will report back as well.
How often, I know you said periodic retesting. Do you,
There's really no defined time or even requirement to test. So we've been proactive in doing so. We did this several years ago and kind of had the conversation about, we did some retesting several years ago. We put some remediation efforts in place, and knowing the geography and that this is an area that could contain radon, we felt it was appropriate to test again. We worked with our industrial hygienist and talked about a time frame, and they agreed it was probably a good idea to do that testing again after several years. So again, we will probably, knowing this, try to more routinely do that, but it will probably be on a several-year cycle, as it has been in the past, where we'll test and perform any remediation and then retest.
Thank you. Next, superintendent information, Dr. Wiles.
Okay, thank you. My first item is to remind everyone about our upcoming GHS Guilderland Players and FMS Mask productions. So FMS Mask proudly presents Mary Poppins Jr. through special arrangements with Music Theater International. Performances will be held Friday, March 6th through Sunday, March 8th. On Friday and Saturday, the performances will take place at 7 p.m. The Sunday performance will begin at 2 p.m. Tickets will be sold in the FMS cafetorium during lunch shifts for a pre-sale price of $8, and reservation requests can be sent to fmsmask@guilderlandschools.net or by filling out a registration form that you might be able to link to here. Tickets picked up at the door are $9. The Guilderland Players, cast, crew, and orchestra are presenting Bob Fosse, Fred Ebb, and Maureen Dallas Watkins' musical Chicago on March 12th, 13th, and 14th at 7 p.m., and on Sunday, March 15th at 2 p.m. Prices vary between $5 and $10, depending on where you choose to sit. And to reserve tickets, please call 518-861-8591, extension 6202, and leave a message. So can't wait. It's the best part of March. My next item, I just want to talk briefly about the New York State Council of School Superintendents. Our midwinter conference was actually Sunday, Monday, and today, right here in downtown Albany. The purpose of the conference, this is our advocacy conference, so we spend a lot of time thinking about how we advocate proactively for resources for our school districts. Today included a trip to the Capitol to actually talk directly with our elected officials. So all of that was very helpful, and I can talk more about advocacy as we get further in our agenda, because it's certainly something we need to be doing. It may not come as a surprise to you, but many of the conversations at the conference were overshadowed by the coronavirus. And so we had a special late to the agenda presentation by the Department of Health first thing this morning. And a small number of us actually had the opportunity to meet with the chancellor, the commissioner, acting commissioner, the vice chancellor, to talk directly with State Ed this afternoon about strategies, tools, things that we are going to need from the State Education Department as this unfolds. Lots of uncertainty and lots of tentacles to potential work that we need to do. And then just the other piece that I spent a lot of time with in the conference was there was a strand around mental health. This is a big priority for us, and had the opportunity to touch base with several colleagues who are also doing creative things and to bolster the amount of support we can provide to our students around their mental health. Our model of a school-based mental health clinic is envied, so I was very proud to be able to share that. Any questions about the conference? All right, hearing none, I'll move on to, it's that time of year again when we begin to plan a joint meeting of, with the trustees of the Guilderland Public Library and with our Board of Education. The director and I have coordinated a little bit, and we can offer March 17th at 5:30 is a time that works for his team. So you don't have to answer now, but I will have Linda or Deb send out a note tomorrow to see if that time would work for you. It would be a 5:30 meeting at the Guilderland Public Library. The idea is 3 or 4 members from each of the boards would be there, and Tim and I would put together an agenda with those topics that are of mutual and important, timely interest to us. So check your calendars and I'll reach out, but the 17th at 5:30 it looks like. My next item is the coronavirus, and I'll repeat what I have here and then expand a little bit. I just want to reassure everyone that we are closely monitoring daily develops regarding the novel coronavirus, COVID-19. We are relying on guidance from county, state, and federal agencies, including the State Education Department, the Department of Health, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We recently, as of Friday, communicated with parents, guardians, and staff the timely information from those organizations, including steps that student, staff, and community members can take to minimize the spread of all respiratory illnesses, including COVID-19. We do understand and appreciate this is a rapidly evolving health matter, so we're continuing to make plans to respond to a variety of possible situations. We're working in collaboration with Capital Region BOCES, who has taken on a leading role in coordinating the efforts of area school districts to respond to this illness under the guidance and advice of experts at the Department of Health, CDC, and the Education Department. And we will continue to share information with our families, faculty, and staff as it becomes available. So there's lots of news about this. People are asking questions about cleaning, disinfecting, closing school. What would that mean for students, for staff, for requirements to complete the school year, for regents exams, for 180 days of required attendance? These were all topics on the conversation in the commissioner's office earlier today. State Ed has vowed to put together some guidelines for us around the regulatory issues that will affect schools, but we will be depending more on the Department of Health and the CDC for those issues that are around medical health issues, because they'll have that expertise. As I mentioned, Cap Region BOCES is really leading in the state to help us think about like the worst case scenario, like if we have to close school and provide instruction remotely to students, what would that look like? So while we don't have firm plans there, I just want to reassure everyone that it is right at the top of our agenda, and everyone is working collaboratively to try to stay ahead of that. But if you follow the news, it just changes very quickly for our community, so we need to be ready. All right. And then last, as you know, we had initially planned to present the draft of the superintendent's budget for the 2020-2021 school district this evening. But I guess you can look at it as a reprieve. It's an unhappy reprieve, unfortunately. As we did a lot of work over the February break, all of the foreshadowing that you heard from Mr. Sanders beginning back in the fall about not having lots of aid, increasing costs, the calculation of our tax cap and so on, actually ended up in a worse place than we thought it was going to be. So we ended up having to reach out to our administrative team to ask them to take a hard look at the expenses that they are responsible for and actually to come forward with some potential reductions. Damien and Lynn and Neil and I spent several hours today, and we'll spend several hours more tomorrow, kind of fleshing through what could potentially be up for a reduction for next year. Obviously, we want to minimize any impact on student opportunities, but as of today, March 3rd, this is a painful budget cycle. And, hopefully some things will turn around. We have been advocating with Pat Fahey and George Amador, our immediate elected officials, and I know there's lots of advocacy going on around the state. The reality is, though, even if the legislature were to put significant additional funds into foundation aid, we're in that group of districts that just doesn't get it. And if you attended, and I know many of our board members attended the Sustainability Forum back in January, there is a group of districts, they're in tiers, we happen to be in Tier 5, who for the last 3 years has received the lowest amount of additional aid allowed under the law. We're in the same category as Scarsdale and Jericho, some very wealthy districts, and who do not feel the impact of, insufficient aid increases the way that we do, and our colleagues around the Suburban Council. The last thing I'll say is that last week at our BOCES meeting, we had all 24 superintendents from our region sitting around the table, and our city schools said, big cities, Albany and Schenectady, things don't look good now, but when we get additional aid, we'll be okay. The rural schools all said, oh, we're going to be okay. Every suburban school around the table said, we're cutting $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, because we're in that category. So let's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst as we go forward. So we will present that 1 week from tonight, right here, with Q&A to follow and more work to come from there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wiles. Next, board president information. First thing is a set of policies on graduation requirements and student attendance. Barb, is there anything that we should be looking at specifically, or just read through?
The graduation requirements, we're reducing by one. This has been vetted by the high school staff, by guidance, and they all feel that most students will graduate with more than the 22 credits. But the suburban council schools that we're in the same region with all have the 22.
Thank you. Next, upcoming Board of Education election. The petitions are available through the district clerk for any resident who might be considering running for the Board of Ed. 82 signatures of eligible voters, district voters, are required based on a 2% of those voting in last year's election. There are three-year terms on the board that will begin July 1st, 2020, and 2 1-year plus 6 weeks terms on the board that will begin May 20th, 2020. In order to be eligible to run for the board, nominating petitions with 82 or more signatures from qualified voters in the district must be submitted to the district clerk on or before Monday, April 20th, 2020 by 5 p.m. Anyone who has questions about the duties and responsibilities of a board member may contact the superintendent, the board president, or any member of the board. A candidate must be able to read and write, be at least 18 years of age, a qualified voter, and a district resident for at least 1 year prior to the date of the vote on Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. There's further information from the district clerk. Next, Board of Education workshop scheduled. As a reminder, the Board of Ed established a budget workshop on Thursday, April 2nd, and the meeting will begin at 7 p.m. And last, Capital Region BOCES meeting. The annual meeting of the Cap Region BOCES is scheduled for Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. Reservations to attend this meeting are due by noon, Friday, March 20th. If any board members are interested in attending, please let Linda Livingston know. And for your information, the date of Wednesday, April 22nd is our special board meeting that takes place at 8 a.m. is the date selected to vote on the 2021 Board of Cooperating Educational Services Budget and Election. And that's right here in the,
In the district
District
office.
office.
And it usually takes about 5 minutes, so it's on your way to work kind of thing.
okay, thank you. Action items, school business, Neil?
Thank you. First item this evening is a recommendation for a bid award, and this is for a uniform mop, mat, and microfiber cloth service bid. 8 vendors were solicited and 2 responded. And what this bid encompasses is the rental and cleaning of uniforms for our maintenance staff and bus mechanics, dry mops and microfiber cloths used for cleaning throughout the district, and entrance manning for all the school buildings during the winter months. We did ask vendors to give us pricing for both a 3-year period and a 5-year contract term. Recommendation is to award to Cintas Corporation for a 5-year contract term, which was deemed to be a better value. Total cost of the agreement over the 5 years is $106,125.47.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the uniform and cloth bid? Judy? Second, Kelly? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 7-0. Next.
We have another bid as well. It's for garbage, rubbish, and recyclables bid. We solicited bids from 6 vendors and 2 responded. We did ask for pricing for a 3-year term and asked also for additional pricing for 2 additional years that we could take at our option. The recommendation is to award the bid to County Waste and Recycling for a 3-year period, and then with the option to extend the agreement for 2 additional years if mutually agreeable to both the school district and the vendor. And the pricing is noted for the years on your bid document.
I have a motion to accept the garbage, rubbish, and recyclables bid.
So
Ben? Second, Rebecca? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes 7-0. Oh, Barb is frozen.
Barbara?
She frozen? So passes 6-0. Okay.
The next item is a resolution for approval to accept a grant. You heard about this grant earlier in the meeting. This would authorize the application to an acceptance of a grant in the amount of $3,000 from the Whole Kids Foundation Garden Grant to support garden-based education at Gilliland High School.
Can I have a motion to accept the grant?
So moved. So moved.
Gloria, second, Barb. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 7-0.
Next is a resolution to approve agreements with the University of Buffalo SUNY and, just University of Buffalo to accept students for internship and practicum experience and authorize the superintendent to execute the agreement.
Can I have a motion to approve the, to approve the internships? Rebecca, second, Ben. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, passes 7-0. Okay, next on the list, board president action. We have a policy for service dog animals and drug-free workplace. Do we have to do each of these by themselves? We can do them together? All right, so can I have a motion to approve the policies A through K? Kelly?
So moved.
Second, Ben? Any questions or comments? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes
Aye.
7-0. Next, board committee reports. We'll start with policy. Barb or Ben?
We're meeting again on March 18th at 8 a.m.
Communications
We're meeting on Friday at 8 a.m.
and audit.
25th.
25th.
The 25th at 8:30 in the morning.
And last, business practices. At 8 a.m.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. I'm sorry, I have another meeting tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Thank you. Public comment number 2. Lynn, does anybody signed up? No? Board issues, ideas, and sharing. Does anybody have anything to share? Ben?
On March 18th, Josephine Finn, our representative on the Board of Regents, will be holding a meeting to discuss the graduation standards in New York at the Hearst Media Center in Albany from 5 to 7:30. So I encourage you all to come, hear what people are thinking, share what you're thinking.
Thank you. Judy?
I have a question, and it was information or action. Did we vote on John Fallon? Yes. Okay, I just didn't remember that we had. Okay, that's good, because he's a good member.
And the BOCES was delighted.
I'm sure. Okay, and the other thing is, Regan let me know, and I'm not even sure that he let Marie know yet, that April 30th will be our first unified basketball game. And if you want your heart to sing a little, come and watch these kids. It's wonderful. And basketball is much more viewer-friendly than bowling. And if you could go, there'll be 3 home games, and they're at 4:15 in the afternoon. And they're great, so.
Other ideas to share? I just have one. I don't know if everybody got the email for that forum, or I don't know if it's a professional development type thing for supporting a culture of care in schools. Did you all get that? I know Gloria did, I did. I'm going to forward it to you because I'm not sure if I can go, but it would probably be good if someone could go. In Albany's April 23rd. I think that's a Thursday. I'll forward it to all of you.
Okay.
Any other?
Before we.
Yes, we have at least a month.
Okay.
Any other ideas or sharing? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Judy?
So moved.
Second, Gloria? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes 7-0. Thank you.